It's a given that no one wants to hate their own art. It can hurt your motivation and just isn't very fun. But even though it doesn't feel like it, this can sometimes be a good thing. It helps to understand why this happens and what might be going on so that you can respond properly and get back to being proud of the things you make sooner rather than later. Imagine if you only ever loved everything you made. If that were the case, you wouldn't ever see room for or feel the desire to improve. For anyone who doesn't care about improvement, this would actually be a great place to be. But also, being good at art is really cool, and learning a skill like this is ultimately very fun and rewarding. If you want to grow any skill, you have to accept that sometimes you're going to get results that you don't like, especially when you push out of your comfort zone. You've maybe heard that your standards of what makes art good can at times jump up higher than your ability to make art that good, resulting in periods of time where your skill hasn't caught up and doesn't meet your own standards. From my own experience, I can say that this is probably true, and something that at least most people experience. I remember when I felt most dissatisfied with my work, which was sometime between summer of 2022 and summer 2023. I had recently followed along with the art challenge Chromacore for the first time, improved noticeably during that month, and was exposed to a lot of really good art that other people were making. Following that, I kept practicing a lot, but started to feel worse and worse about what I was making. And it wasn't actually that I was getting worse. It was that my standards had suddenly gotten much higher after not really changing for years. I still kept trying and practicing, eventually not feeling as critical of what I was making, and when Chromacore rolled around again, it was the final push that really leveled up my skill. So, if you're feeling unsatisfied with your work, you can see it as a sign that there is probably significant growth for you just around the corner. I'm especially glad that my standards haven't stayed the same when I look back at my old work that I was once proud of, and I'm sure you can look back and think the same, wondering how on earth you thought an old drawing of yours was good. If your taste hadn't changed since then, your skill level wouldn't have changed much either. But of course, going through a period of hating your art still isn't very fun. Luckily, there are ways you can manage it and level up out of it as quickly as possible. More important than anything else is to keep practicing. You'll learn quickly by doing master copies, studying the work of other artists by replicating it. I have a video on this topic that has more specific advice on doing this. In picking what you study from, try looking at your own work that you're unhappy with and making a written list of what exactly it is that you don't like. If it's color, pick art to do master copies of that you think has really good and interesting use of color. If your style just isn't where you want it, study artists with styles that you really admire. For me, learning and improving is one of the most exciting things about being an artist, so hopefully you can feel that too and have fun with this. Now, I know that some of you are probably ready to comment that you only ever seem to hate your art. You haven't felt happy with it for a long time and aren't sure you ever will at this point. If that's the case, still do your best to pick out and list what it is that you aren't liking. If you aren't sure, it'll help to ask for a critique from someone with more experience. If you can't tell what's going wrong, they probably can. You also should benefit from doing a paint-over or recreation of your older art. You'll be able to see the improvement that you probably didn't realize was there, and that can be pretty encouraging. That'll be especially good if you just struggle with having a negative mindset. If you expect to make something bad, you probably will. So when starting something new, convince yourself that whatever you're about to make will be the coolest looking thing ever, and use plenty of references. Trying to pull everything from imagination is a pretty sure way to end up frustrated and disappointed in yourself when you're in this negative phase. Also, look at art you find inspiring, and tell yourself that you'll make something that looks just as great. The "if they can do it, so can I" mindset isn't always fully realistic, and chances are you won't make something quite at the level of what you're inspired by, but by aiming high, you may end up surprising yourself anyway by making something more skilled than your previous work suggests you were capable of. Then I suppose there might be some of you who really want to become more skilled artists, but also have always felt pretty good about your art. You aren't sure what your weak points are and what needs improving because everything seems good already. In that case, you can give your standards a boost by just browsing good art. Looking at art is so important and overlooked. It's like how a writer should also read. I've said it before, but avoiding looking at the work of other artists and only comparing yourself to yourself is advice that only people who don't want to learn should follow. Find artists on social media that you find inspiring, put together an inspiration board, and hopefully feel enthusiastic and see your own potential in these amazing artists you come across. You can absolutely become as good as they are in the future, and that's really exciting. Here's my video about doing master copies, and one where I tested my improvement by recreating my older art. Thanks for watching!